So, had a ton of snow. What is the date? It's like April the 20th. Ton of snow. Bloody freezing out there. All right. Everescence Forever 100 says, someone who's obese, you said that they have dieted in the past. I know people who don't have any medical issues who've never dieted and always loved food. Why are they obese? I mean, if you eat constantly because you're hungry constantly, won't you gain? I also know people who haven't dieted and eat whenever hungry, etc., but gain weight. Well, I think it's sort of how you define diet. If you define diet as officially being going on a diet, then that's one thing. If you could define, if you look at actually what I usually say is it's restriction that leads to overconsumption. Okay. And now the genetics have to play in it as well. A lot of people are in naturally larger bodies, and some of those people might be classed as obese by the BMI system, but actually they're in a perfectly healthy body, and that's how their body is supposed to be. And so you can't just look at somebody and first of all know their entire health history, their entire history with their body, and their entire history and relationship with food, and also their genetics. I think that the best thing that you can try and do is not judge and stop having such a problem with weight. Because if we stopped judging larger bodies as quote unquote unhealthy, then people wouldn't be made to feel like they need to be in smaller bodies, and people wouldn't therefore start restricting food, and then that wouldn't lead them to more overconsumption. And so the problem usually lies in just that. Leanne B says, I think I doubt recovery. If I don't assure those tiny pleasures of restriction, what do I have left? I really would like to know what was the very first move for those who are going all in. Well, for me, it really was the stopping exercise. That was the first and best decision that I made, and I was just so dull with it. And I get what you mean, because I would have this sense of achievement at the end of every day when I'd done my exercise and compulsive movement regime. I'd feel good about it at the end of the day, and I would take pleasure in feeling like I'd earned the food that I was then allowed to allow myself to eat at night. And so that was one of the things that kept me going. It kept me because I've often said I wanted to stop for such a long time, and it was just that thought of, well, if I don't get up and exercise today, I won't be able to do my little binge routine at night, and I'll be able to allow myself that. And that made me feel too sad. So I would force myself to exercise. But then I guess one day I decided I'm going to exercise. I'm not going to not exercise, and I'm going to allow myself to eat what I want. And that really had to go hand in hand. At least the concept of it had to start there. But like anybody else who has done recovery, the question here is, what was the very first move for you? What was the first thing you did? Liam says, I have fear foods because I'm scared that they will give me spots. I suffered with acne a few years ago in my teens and cut out so many foods, developed an eating disorder as a result. Do you have any tips? I think that like a lot of the time people will start restricting food for reasons other than not being satisfied with the body that they're in. Your reason was wanting to cut out foods that might be causing acne. It's a great, of course, you would try things, wouldn't you? Who knows now? It must be years on. Who knows? Acne is usually very endocrine system dependent, and who knows? You probably would if you've been restricting, and that will lead to suppression of your endocrine system. And so while it all cranks up again, I hate to tell you, but it's highly likely that you would have acne again. But it's sort of like you're going to have to just go through that to get to the other side, because then once your endocrine system and all hormones and things like that have settled down, then that will likely pass. When I went through puberty at whatever age I was when I properly did it, I got spots and things like that. And but when it all settles down, it all settles down. I can't tell you how to do this without getting acne. Like, you need to eat that restriction if you want to not have an eating disorder anymore. That may or may not cause an outbreak, but I think that that's my way a different thing to deal with, right? An outbreak of acne is a way different thing to deal with than having an eating disorder that wrecks absolutely every part of your life. And so you just have to decide, I'm going to do this recovery thing and I'll see what happens with my skin, and know that there are actually a lot of options now to help you with your skin. My sister had awful acne for a really long time into adulthood, and she tried all sorts of things. I think ultimately in the end, like, she just tried supplements and at some point she was on medication. I can't remember if that actually helped or not, but there are other avenues to just explore. You can't just continue suppressing your body weight. You have to recover from your eating disorder. All right. Death Echo says, oh God, I just lost my place. It always does that. It just jumps right to the bottom. So bloody annoying. Death Echo says, being able to recognize what needs to be rewired. As so much time has passed, it has become difficult to recognize. It's been difficult to recognize any given bad behavior, although weight is increasing. Tips, advice. If something you do strikes you as odd, if it's a bit weird, it's a bit fucked up, rewire it. Because change it. If that thing happened to not be at all connected to your eating disorder, no big deal. You can start doing it again if you want to, later date. If it was connected to your eating disorder, you rewind it, right? So erring on the side of caution is changing stuff. If in any doubt, I don't know why I do that weird thing, but maybe it's part of my eating disorder, stop it. That's really what you need to do. Ginger Ming. I'm sure you're not a ginger minger. Matt called me a minger. Matt called me a minger last night. It was kind of my own fault, though. He didn't actually call me a minger. I said the weather's minging, and he said so's your face, which isn't exactly the same. He says so's your face to a lot of things. Anyway, Ginger Minger says, what do I do in recovery if I have a caffeine dependency and it ruins my appetite? It puts my hunger signals so out of order. I'm not going to tell you not to have caffeine, because I know better than that. Well, it depends if you drink tea or coffee. If you drink tea, I'm going to say, of course, you have to continue to drink tea. If you drink coffee, I'm going to say, you can go without that. I don't like coffee. All right, so, but you know, don't worry so much about your hunger signals. Like, if you, well, first of all, one thing that you absolutely can't do is drink caffeine when you are feeling hungry as a way to suppress your hunger. That is absolutely no. And I would say that actually, probably, I would say that if you find yourself sitting there thinking, oh, I really want a cup of coffee, it's likely that you're hungry. That could be the reason that you're thinking that. It could be a sort of mental hunger thing to crave caffeine because you're in the habit of using it to suppress your hunger. And so what I would say is, first of all, whenever you think about wanting to drink a cup of tea or coffee or whatever caffeine it is, eat something first and then see if you still want the coffee. The other thing I would say is that if you are in any doubt that you are eating enough, if you are suspicious that you are under consuming, I don't care what your hunger signals are doing, you have to force yourself to eat more. And so if you know that, oh, I just drank a cup of coffee and that's probably going to suppress my hunger signals, and if I hadn't drunk that cup of coffee, I'll probably be hungry about now. You got to eat whether you're hungry or not, haven't you? And actually, all this thinking about it is mental hunger. So that signifies that you're hungry anyway. So because the drinking of the caffeine may well suppress physical hunger, but I doubt it suppresses mental hunger. It's probably true that you still think about food a lot, and you should be eating to mental hunger, right? Okay. Miranda, can you make a separate video on eating disorders and autism? I will. Carolina says, can I recover if I follow a meal plan? All right. So meal plans are a disordered way of eating. It's not normal to follow a meal plan. People don't come out the womb with meal plans. Like, I really doubt that our early ancestors followed meal plans, and no animals follow meal plans. It's not normal to follow a meal plan. So let's get that straight. Following a meal plan is still a disordered way of eating. So therefore, that's not going to get you fully recovered, is it? However, if you cannot, and you have proven to yourself that you cannot eat without restriction, then your only other option at that point is to ask for help. And usually somebody's going to give you a meal plan. And what that meal plan's doing is it's stopping you from killing yourself. That's what it's doing. That's what it's there for. Is to stop you from being a dickhead even more than you already are. So you've got to use that meal plan as like, all right, this is just here to stop me being a dickhead to myself and help me get into more of an eating routine, schedule, regime, whatever it is. But it can't go on forever. That's the thing. Like, if you've been following a meal plan for 3 years, I'd say that your eating disorder is probably no different, not really much different. It's just an eating disorder with a meal plan as sort of like your restriction routine, isn't it? Rather than not having a meal plan as your restriction routine, because the meal plan can turn into your safe place, can't it? And then it's just the same as it's just another expression of your eating disorder. And so you have to be really careful with meal plans. You have to be able to use them when you need them, and you have to be able to recognize when you're like, yeah, I just can't do this unrestricted eating thing on my own. I need someone to stop me from killing myself, and I need help. That's a really important and good decision to make. Like, I'm not belittling the bravery it takes to make that decision to ask for help and then get yourself put on a meal plan. Like, that's a really important step, but it is a step. That's just the point. It's a step towards recovery. It's absolutely not going to get you fully recovered just by definition that a meal plan is a disordered way of eating, but it can be a less disordered way of eating than your previously disordered way of eating. And so if that's the case, then that can be a really brave and important step up. And that is like part of the ladder that's going to get you towards full recovery, as long as you keep stepping up. As long as you don't sit there for 5 years on your meal plan expecting your eating disorder to suddenly miraculously go away when you didn't change anything. Does that make sense? Yeah. So meal plans have a really important place in some people's recovery. But they are just a step. They're not going to get you fully recovered. You will not get fully recovered on a meal plan, but you might get some way towards it. Got a couple of minutes left. Bethany says, why am I so hungry at night still? Your heart's after dinner. You're probably still in energy deficit, Bethany. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter why you're so hungry at night still. It doesn't matter what you think about it. It doesn't matter what the reason. You might never know the reason, but you also don't know the reason of like why your toenails grow, whatever. I don't know. You just are. That's just the truth. I think so much about recovery is just being truth, just being honest. I'm hungry. You might have all these judgments about how that you're hungry and that I shouldn't be hungry and all the blah, blah, blah. But it's just the reality, isn't it? I'm hungry. And I'm really hungry at night. Now, I would assume that you're in energy deficit, and I don't really care what you think about that. Like, I don't give me the old, but I'm in a healthy weight or whatever. I would assume that you're still in energy deficit, and you can be in energy deficit only weight, remember. And I would assume you're not eating enough during the day as well. So if you want to take some action, you've got to see that, like, I'm still really hungry at night. I'm eating a lot at night. That must mean something. Your body's not doing that just to be a pain in the ass. It's doing it for a reason. And so we can just conclude, can't we, that reason is your body saying, can I have some more food, please? Please, sir, can I have some more? And so I don't care like how much you think you're eating during the day. You'll probably be like, I'm eating so much food during the day. I don't care. Okay, the evidence is in the night eating. However much food you think that you're eating, eat more. And see what your body has to say about that. And keep doing that until that night binging, eating, whatever it is, ceases. Because it's there for a reason. And I should know. Because God, did I used to binge at night. Late at night. Early hours of the morning, really. It was so inconvenient. And then, when I came out of energy deficit, it just ran away. It just ran away. Can't even imagine. Like, first of all, I can't really, I haven't stayed up till 2 a.m. for a very long time. Have no plans to in the near future either. Oh, well, probably unless that mare ever falls, then I'll have to stay up, won't I? But, oh God, I'm just tempted fate now. I should better not fall tonight. I'm not sitting out in the snow watching her vagina, which I probably will have to do now I've said that. Anyway, so not that unless something's having a fall, I don't stay up until 2 a.m. If I did, I can't imagine sitting there and eating jars of peanut butter like I used to. Not just jars of peanut butter, just like jars of peanut butter on top of so much other food. But I did every night. Down the hatch it all went. Seriously though, and I did it for over 4 years, and part of me was like, this just must be a habit at this point. I'm going to do this forever. But believe it or not, when I came out of energy deficit, it went away. It went away. No desire to do that anymore. And it's great because I sleep. I do like my sleep. I really do. So yeah, trust your body. If your body's communicating with you, it's saying, I need more food. I don't care what you think about that. I don't care what your opinion is about that. Just eat more food. And with that, I've got to go. Bye.